encouraging to see that the awareness is actually on the rise. And, you know, law enforcement is a component to this domestic violence issue, and we deal with it on a daily basis. There's not a day that doesn't go by that we don't answer multiple domestic violence calls. And we see firsthand the impact that it has on families and on children. And it's my opinion that if we want to raise the quality of life in Oklahoma, if we want to raise the quality of life and raise great communities, we have to start fixing the family. And that's one of our failures as leaders in society is our families oftentimes break down. And domestic violence is an example of a broken family. And oftentimes we see that it is a cycle of broken families as well. And so when we fail to properly intervene in domestic violence situations, when we fail to properly make an impact, oftentimes when we talk about our youth, our future, we raise offenders to reoffend. And we continue this cycle of domestic violence. And it's devastating. It's devastating on communities. It's devastating on the law enforcement system. And it's devastating on the psyche of the law enforcement officers responding to it each and every day, because it really makes an impact. Most importantly, it's devastating to victims and families, victims and children that are having to live like this. And so I want you to think just for a minute about a time in your life that you felt helpless. Just think, maybe it was a time in school, maybe it was a time recently, maybe it was many years ago. You felt helpless. There was nothing you could do. You just had to sit there and take it, whatever it was, or sit there and watch it happen, whatever it was. Helplessness. And that's exactly what we're talking about here when we talk about victims and children in domestic violence situations. Helplessness. That child who watches mom be beaten, be strangled, be dragged across the hallway. That child who goes and hides, praying that it will end. That mother who knows that she takes the beating so that the children don't get beaten. That helpless feeling, what can you do? In law enforcement, we love being able to come in and help and intervene and stop that violence. And maybe for one night, maybe for one weekend, these kids, this victim, sleeps in peace. Maybe just one time. Maybe it's one good night of rest this victim has, or these children have, to sleep in peace, knowing that the beating is not going to happen anymore. And so law enforcement, we take that role very seriously. We're very proud to fill that role, but we're very thankful for legislation like this. We're thankful for judges like we have in the room and other legislators and lawmakers that also recognize the impact that domestic violence has on our communities. And as these advocates would tell you, that we as a society, we as a community, we as a great state of Oklahoma have to stand up and say, we're not going to tolerate it anymore. We're not going to put up with it anymore. And work as a team. It's not just legislation. It's not just the judges. It's not just law enforcement. It's not just advocates working alone to solve this. It's a team. And that's what you see represented up here tonight. That's what you see represented in the room tonight, is a team of people that are willing to stand up and say, we're not going to tolerate it. We're not going to put up with it. And what we want the victims to know is that we might not always get it perfect, but our hearts are in the right place, and our goal is that you can sleep at peace, knowing that you're no longer helpless. And we talk about this being a non-violent crime. And many of us will go home tonight, and when we go home tonight, we'll relax, we'll kick our shoes off, might sit in a chair, or lay down in bed and watch TV, and we'll be very comfortable. Because it's our home. It's our safe place. We can be who we want to be, and we know that we are in our home and no one's going to hurt us. It's our home. When you're a victim of domestic violence, when you are a child of a parent that is a victim of domestic violence, that home, it's not a safe place. It's like a prison. And you're being tormented. And you're living with anxiety and fear. Is tonight the night? What time is it till? What time does he get home? What time do they get home? Okay, is everything right? Okay, we're not going to talk about what you did today because they'll get mad. You'll get mad, just you'll handle it. That safety is violated. And so what we hope to do, and what I am appreciative of Senator Standridge in doing, is not only raise awareness on this issue, but actually stand up as a community, stand up as a state, to bring back that safety and to help do away with some of that helplessness that we can do on our part. But really, it's not one entity, it's not law enforcement alone, it's not the legislature or the judges. We cannot do this alone. As a society, as a state, as a community, we have to say that we're not going to put up with it and that we're not going to tolerate it. And we are going to make a difference. And it might be a slow impact. It might not be a quick turnaround. We've been working this direction for generations. It's been a problem. I've been in law enforcement for 24 years, and one of the first calls you ever take is a domestic. So at least for over 2 decades, I know this has been a legitimate problem. And so I can't imagine that we're going to fix it with the flip of the switch. But we have to be persistent, and we have to continue to move in the right direction. And we know that our impacts and the difference that we're going to make is going to be one person at a time. And when we keep moving forward, we'll keep persisting forward, one case, one person, one victim, one family at a time. And so law enforcement takes this very seriously. It's a very emotional, scarring time for law enforcement. As much as we get painted with a calloused brush, it's because routinely, over and over again, we get to be on the front seat of people's tragedies. We get to hear the screaming, see the blood, see the violence, see the chaos, feel the chaos, and try to bring about some sort of peace. And hopefully, for that one night, that one weekend, we do our part so that somebody can sleep safe and somebody can sleep in peace knowing that at least tonight, at least this weekend, the beatings are going to stop. But we appreciate the work of these advocates. We appreciate the work of legislators like Senator Standridge to bring about awareness on this topic and to bring about change in some of the laws that we have to help reinforce the issue as we move forward as a state. So that's a law enforcement perspective. I appreciate you having me here tonight.
Thank you.